Hello, Malden. Welcome to Dazzle. I'm your host, Priya, welcoming you to our talk show. Today we have with us Mr. Shahriar Kabir. He is the executive president for the Forum of Secular Bangladesh and Trial of War Criminals of 1971. Mr. Kabir is also the general secretary of the South Asian People's Union Against Fundamentalism and Communalism. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Shahriar Kabir. He is a writer, journalist, and filmmaker. So far, Mr. Kabir is visiting U.S., and he has toured Washington, D.C., North Carolina, New York City, and yesterday he was at Harvard University giving a talk on the war trials of Bangladesh. At this time, I'd also like to introduce to you Mr. AKM Mahfuzur Rahman. He is the president for the International Forum of Secular Bangladesh and Trial of War Criminals of 1971, New England chapter. At this point, Mr. Rahman will proceed with our show.
Welcome, Shahriar Kabir. Welcome to Massachusetts.
Thank you.
On behalf of the International Forum for Secular Bangladesh and the Trials of the War Criminals of 1971, I welcome you to the show. We have a very distinguished guest, Shahriar Kabir from Bangladesh. We'll hear from him in a few seconds. Many of you know that in 1971, Bangladesh became an independent country after a 9-month-long war of independence. In the process, Bangladesh lost about 3 million people. Many of them became the victim of genocide, killed by the Pakistani army, as well as their local collaborators. These are local people who helped kill, commit genocide, raping hundreds of thousands of women, as well as burning down houses in Bangladesh. We are seeking justice for this war criminal trial. What we're trying to do in the International Forum right now is to create awareness, looking for support from the U.S. government and international community. And Mr. Shahriar Kabir's trip to U.S. exactly is doing that. So, Shahriar Kabir, I have a question for you. Why Bangladesh is seeking the trial of war criminals? Because it has been almost 40 years since the Bangladesh became an independent country.
Well, there is no time bar for the trial of the war criminals or any kind of crimes committed in the past. However, the war crimes or the genocide perpetrated in Bangladesh in 1971, and our government has started the trial after 40 years. But the problem is that when the Bangladesh was liberated, the first government led by Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, they initiated this trial. Unfortunately, after the assassination of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, pro-Pakistanis, pro-Islamist military, they grabbed political power and they stopped this trial process. Not only that, they have rehabilitated those perpetrators of war crimes and genocide, mainly known as Jamaat-e-Islami, Muslim League, Nizam-e-Islam, and all these Islamist parties, political parties. And since then, we have seen that alarming rise of Islamic militancy in Bangladesh. We have observed a kind of Islamization, so-called Islamization and a Pakistanization of our society and politics, as well as the rise of Islamic militancy. When Jamaat-e-Islami and BNP were assuming power from 2001 to 2006, we have seen alarming rise of Islamic militancy in Bangladesh. And that Islamic militancy justifies killing in the name of Islam, or plundering, looting, torturing people, particularly belong to the religious minorities, ethnic minorities, secular humanists, the free thinkers, all have been done in the name of Islam. So that was a big problem for Bangladesh. Bangladesh was created for its secular democracy. Unfortunately, after the assassination of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, those principles, those ideals, those are removed from our constitution, that is secularism, nationalism, democracy, socialism, everything. As well as in our 1972 constitution, there is a bar for not forming political parties in the name of religion. That was something very unique of Bangladesh Constitution. That is, to ensure secularism, Bangladesh is the first country that prohibited formation of political parties in the name of religion. So these religious groups, they are very much linked with the international jihadi network. Those who committed genocide in Bangladesh, the Pakistani army as well as their local collaborators, Jamaat-e-Islami, they are very much linked with Al-Qaeda and Taliban. In fact, one American expert, Professor Ben Kiernan, observed it in his book as well as in one of my films, when I interviewed him. He said that those criminals, who committed genocide in Bangladesh, those Pakistani generals as well as their local collaborators, they got impunity. They were not being tried. And for that, they became very powerful in Pakistan and Bangladesh. Those Pakistani generals, after getting impunity, they became very powerful in Pakistan politics. And eventually, they created Al-Qaeda and Taliban. Okay. Same with Jamaat-e-Islami in Bangladesh. When they got impunity, they are responsible for creation of those Islamic militant organizations. And we have seen there were hundreds of Islamic militant organizations when Jamaat-e-Islami was in power. So that is one very important thing to be observed, that if you do not try the killers and collaborators of a genocide, and those crimes will continue either in Bangladesh or elsewhere. For instance, in this case, it is Afghanistan. Professor Ben mentioned that Al-Qaeda got inspiration from the impunity of Bangladesh genocide. So that is very important to be understood by the Westerners, particularly the Bangladeshi diaspora living in this country. This is the main reason we are fighting for the justice to the victims. 3 million people were being killed, and those family members, they are seeking justice for the last 40 years. So if you want to ensure rule of law, if you want to punish the perpetrators of genocide so that this type of crime doesn't happen again, that it doesn't repeat, you have to try the perpetrators. Otherwise, this genocide, this kind of genocide will repeat again and again. Doesn't matter whether it could be in Bangladesh or elsewhere, even it could be here also.
Absolutely.